This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Coffee-fueled stories. Coffee fitness unicorn. Coffee fitness unicorn. Hello. I'm Coffee Fitness Unicorn. Thank you for tuning in to the Coffee Chats podcast, a show where storytelling and coffee hang out. Today we're talking about suspense and horror with Braedon Riddick, who wrote Ungodly. We'll discuss Kuntz, King, and David Lynch, masters of suspense and horror. It's a damn fine episode. Thank you for listening. Go forth and be magical. Hello. I have a very special guest tonight. This is Braedon Riddick. How you doing?
I am very well. Thank you so much for having me. This is a privilege.
Why don't you tell us about yourself first?
I think this is that interview question that it's one of the hardest to answer, right? Along with your biggest weakness. Tell me about yourself. I am a very proud father of two young boys who keep me on my toes daily. I am married to my high school sweetheart, who I'm not always sure I deserve, but she keeps me around. You know, she would much rather read Nicholas Sparks than my wicked fiction. But having said that, she did take Ungodly, her copy of Ungodly, to the mountains this last weekend and enjoyed some of it. So that's saying something.
Absolutely. And you dedicated the book to her.
Yes, I did.
I love the dedication. It's beautiful. I actually have that as one of my notes: to my wife, my rock, my star, my shimmering rock star. Come on. That's beautiful. I love it.
Thank you so much. You know, it's funny. She had to put the book down a few times on occasion while reading initially, because it is a dark read. But she did put the book down after reading that dedication, but only to look at me and smile. So I won her over with that. And I might not have won her over with every aspect of the book, but you can't win them all. But the dedication, apparently, it really resonated with her. And I mean every word of it. I do not know where I would be without that glorious woman in my life, for sure.
I love it. And I love that you guys are high school sweethearts. That's so cool. I
Very
love
good.
it. In the book, you mentioned that this almost didn't come about, and we can actually thank your wife, correct, for this book? Yes,
you are correct. She definitely helped with propelling me forward. She never let me forget about it. I mean, I wrote it. Let's see. First draft was completed in, I would say, 2015. Now, that first draft was nothing like the final product that you just held up. We're talking 511 pages of drivel, unnecessary information, and some of that stuff that fluff, outright unnecessary fluff. And it took a long time to develop the objectivity needed to realize what was crucial to the story and what could go. Right. As writers, one of the hardest things to do is learning how to kill your darlings, as the saying goes.
Right.
And it was very hard for me. I can remember going through the initial, I like to print out the manuscript and do it old school, take a red pen and Bloody Mary, all the suggestions. That's just the way, that's the only way I can really operate and get to work in the editing phases. And I remember getting through probably 50 pages, maybe 75 pages, and I had omitted or deleted all of a sentence or two, and I'm like, I'm clearly not ready to edit this. I'm still way too attached sentimentally to every sentence, every word, whether it belonged or not. So really, I had heard Stephen King say sometimes he had to put a book in a drawer for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And as he went on, that time lessened. He didn't require as much time to know what needed to be cut. And if you look at his catalog, that's easy to see. I mean, the man is as prolific as they come.
Yes.
Quality of the output as time went on is another conversation, but the fact remains, he's just pumped them out constantly. But back to the point, I had to put it away, that manuscript, for at least 2 years before I could really get serious about trimming what needed to and tightening it up and adding almost the thriller aspect to it. Because I've heard many say it's a horror, it's thriller, it's suspense. It's a genre mashup for sure, but there's certainly the thriller aspect to it. And it took a couple years to realize how to tighten it up and how to really bring out the best of the story. And back to the point you made, my wife never let me forget about it. She was like, where is this? I know you put in so much time with this story. Where are you with it? When are you going to put it out there? I'm like, it's just not ready. It's just not ready. So with the assistance of her encouragement, as well as my editor, who I allow to provide a little bit of feedback on it, she had stayed on me. Where are you with this? We need to get this out there. So long-winded way around to say, yes, it took some encouragement. We all need that kick in the butt every now and then, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And to be honest with you, if it weren't for 2020 and the downtime with COVID, that book, the manuscript, may still be in the drawer.
Man,
so talk
crazy.
About silver linings. I wouldn't wish a worldwide pandemic on anyone, but I'm always looking for silver linings. And in this case, why not?
Thank you, COVID. That's freaking awesome. I have several questions about the book, part 1, and then a name. Was that something that you thought about doing? How did you come about that? Because I really enjoyed that as opposed to like chapter 1, chapter 2.
That's a very good question. And I appreciate you asking that. I've always really enjoyed, let me take a tangent to answer this.
Sure.
David Lynch, he is one of my favorite directors and writers. Mulholland Drive, that's a movie that yes. I've seen it 30 times, and I probably have developed 30 different interpretations of that movie when I walk away from it. And I've read something on his style where he said, and even pertaining to Twin Peaks, he mentioned that sometimes he has these random, seemingly unrelated scenes that he dreams about that come to him. And then he trusts the individual vision enough to believe that he will resolve it all into a cohesive story. And that's kind of how it was with Ungodly, to be honest with you. And the individual chapters, the structure, the format, and the titling of that kind of, there was a specific vision, of course, but then there was a lot of seemingly unrelated events that came to me while I'm daydreaming in that Palisade Mountain, that crazy town. And eventually I'm like, just trust the vision. It's all for a purpose. And soon enough, you will see that. And I did. And when you start moving along and you slowly but surely connect these pieces. And then when you start to see how the grand, the little pieces fit together at first, but then you see how the big picture is coming together. And it's almost, you can almost hear that audible click, and like that vault, that bank vault latching click or whatever that opens up for you. And it was just a beautiful sensation how it finally all came together, because let me tell you, it wasn't easy. And in that initial 511 pages, it certainly did not all click. Got a little bit off subject there, but that's really the gist of it. Some of those seemingly unrelated individual instances of these residents in that town. I'm telling you, there were some very intense visuals, and I'm just happy that it was able to all come together like it did.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I don't know how to just sit down with a book anymore. The first thing I do is grab a note paper and a pen. You threw a name at me. I literally wrote it down and what that character was doing when I was introduced to them. I nugget them. And so, because you never know what's a red herring or a nugget,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so I'm like, okay, this guy, is he a red herring or is he a nugget? I chew. I don't know how to read a book without chewing it. And so when you give me a character,
because I want to say there's upwards of 25, 27 characters.
Have you noticed how Coffee Fueled Stories doesn't have any ads? That's because I work tirelessly to keep this show alive. After 3 years on my own, I've decided I need to ask for your help. I've never asked anyone to subscribe. I've never asked anyone to leave a review. I've never asked anyone to rate the show. And I've never asked anyone to pay to listen. There are a few ways you can help support the show. I've created a Patreon page, Coffee Fueled Stories, and a subscription section on my podcast website. It's simple to support and help me keep my dream alive. Just click the link in the show notes to set up your paid subscription option. It's that easy. Thank you for your support. Is there a significance in the dates or the towns before each new part? And if there is a significance that is going to be a spoiler and or give it away.
Let me tell you how cool this is for me that you're pinpointing these fictional towns and dates. Those interludes are one aspect of the story that I would like to leave open for interpretation, especially the date significance. But I will say, between you and I, and considering how you do chew on each chapter, each passage, you will, knowing what occurs at the end, the final result of the story, there is significance to what transpires, what decision is made in each of those interludes. And I won't call it a red herring, but I will say that the initiative in those interludes was to provide just a snippet, just a small spoonful to give the reader for the grand reveal at the end, if you will. Just enough to keep dangling that carrot, if you will, just a little bit at a time. But yeah, I can't stress enough. That's so cool. Someone else had recently remarked on that. I had a good time with those. And I want to say that we spoke about this. We were chatting one day that you mentioned there could be potential, there could be more action to come from those interludes, be it a prequel of sorts or a spinoff in the form of a sequel. And you're the first to mention it in regards to those interludes. And that's right. Obviously, there's been readers who were kind enough to request a follow-up, a sequel, a prequel, but you were the first to mention it specifically about the interludes. And I find that fascinating. It's really cool.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm chewing on this story. I'm chewing on these characters. For me, I have to work really hard at making sure I don't insert my concept of what I think your story is going to be. You wrote it. You're the author. It's my job to sit back, put the shoulder harness, and let you take me for that ride. And you hear the chunk, 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 chunk of that roller coaster, right? And it's my job to put my hands up and go, woo, where are we going? That's my job. Your job is to create the roller coaster, and my job is to sit back and ride it.
That's so well said. And the level at which you dissect how you need to ingest the story just speaks to your experience and how much literature you've ingested, and how much the way you approach, the way you attack understanding and reading between the lines. That's just so cool. It just speaks to your experience about how many books you've read. And obviously that goes without saying. You're a very studied reader, and now you are you may not write the fluff style of writing, the fictional writing, but writing is in your day to day, right? And the devil is in the details.
Yep.
In fiction as well as in what you do on the daily. And again, that's just fascinating, the way that you approach absorbing a story and processing it, breaking it down how you do. That's very cool.
Thank you. A couple of questions about the book, and I don't think that these are any spoilers. Let me double check here. I don't think it's a spoiler. In part 1, there's a Black Sabbath song that's playing, but you don't say which Black Sabbath song. So I literally have which Black Sabbath song. So as if you were to pick a Black Sabbath song that was playing in part 1, what song would it be?
I want to say that when Eldon Apjaw was listening to Black Sabbath Turn Down Low, he was listening to War Pigs, I want to say. I could be getting my wires crossed, but I want to say that's what he was hearing. And but really, you can go through their catalog. Obviously that's one of the more popular licks, but you can go through their catalog and find plenty that would be more than suitable to enjoy on your ride home from anywhere, especially after a ball game with a few beers. But,
nice.
And I do believe that's where he was going. What a character he was.
Oh my God. Like I said,
right?
That was so. Again, we're not going to be giving anything away. And then I think you'll appreciate. I know can't see, but I'm wearing my Rolling Stone shirt for you. Because I figured
what
you
a shirt.
would appreciate it, right?
What a shirt.
So one of the things I love is you can either do a slow burn for an intro, which this is not a slow burn.
Yes.
Is you literally drop us right in to action. And that gets me excited. Strap in, here we go.
Yes.
And you did that. And I literally wrote his name. What is happening?
Again, that's so cool that you even mentioned that. I think I read one review, and I love reading all reviews because let's face it, no two readers walk away from a book with the exact same impression. And I love that, that diversified interpretation, especially with a book like this. But when you open up, when you introduce the reader to such a jarring opening sequence, you don't know what kind of reaction you're going to get. But like you said, you better strap in. You better buckle up because things have gotten real right off the bat. And I want to say I read a review at one time that mentions that I dropped them in a puzzle of action right out of the gate, and they've got to figure out what's going on, and they got to do it fast. Yeah, that opening sequence, I swear to you, I can remember writing it. I can't tell you where it came from, other than that it was a very intense visual that I saw play out in my head. I was right there witnessing it, and I'm just feeding it to the page as I see it. It was one of those. I'm like, when I went back to read it, I'm like, wow, this is pretty intense. This is going to catch some people off guard. And it certainly has done that, and many have remarked on it. So it's one of those that people remember, and I think that case in point, we're talking about it here.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love it, and I was like, I was like, what did I just walk into? Like,
right on the money. You do your thing.
So we can talk about the people in the book without giving anything away. So the characters that you came up with, are they based on anybody in real life that you know? Like, are they your friends, or are these just complete random characters that you just created for this particular world?
Another great question. I would say safely 85% of the characters encountered in there are based loosely off of personas and personalities that I've observed over the years in my experience. And there are a few who certainly have, they have qualities that closely resemble people in my circle, acquaintances, people that have impacted me enough to end up in such a story. There are certainly some that are close to home, but I'd say 85% are just loosely based on personas that I've observed, saw surface signs that said, I wonder what this person is really thinking about. Enough. And that's a diverse mix of characters.
It is. I mean, you got, Amanda, you got Jason, you got Officer Hebelo, you got Brian, and they're all over the place. And so, but the fact that they're, like you said, loosely based is cool. And I love that you were able to create like Hebelo. And we talked about Hebelo, murder and mayhem. So, as opposed to, what was it? Coffee and contemplation.
Yes.
So,
yes.
But not to forget about the song aspect, because I did just take us on a tangent. So the other song question I had, you talk about Alanis Morissette in the Dope Show. And they're sitting there, and Alanis Morissette, and there's conversation about Alanis Morissette. And so my question to you is, what's your favorite Alanis Morissette song?
Gosh, your questions are phenomenal, and I love it. For one, I am a big Alanis fan, especially of her 90s numbers. And if I'm being honest, depending on my mood, Ironic has to be in there.
Right.
Head Over Feet. And I'm going to give you three. Ironic, okay. Head Over Feet. Give me another. Name another one of her 90s hits.
Well, I only know everything off of Jagged Little Pill.
Of course.
So One Hand in My Pocket.
Yes. That's it.
Yeah.
That was it.
So you named the three songs that are like my favorite. So,
yeah.
So we're on the same page. Pun intended.
The whole album.
Oh, come on. Yeah. It's
just take your pick. Take your pick on the whole album, but I gave you the three.
Yep.
Alanis, I dig her for sure.
Totally. I love it. Yeah.
Yep.
And then, so are you originally from North Carolina? You're in North Carolina?
I am.
So we were talking about avocados, and I was surprised that you're an avocado guy, because avocados are like all over in California and like in the West Coast. But I didn't know that avocados had such a presence for you.
Out here? Yes, they do. Even on the East Coast. Now, our West Coast friends make fun of us because we are taxed so heavily on avocados, and they get them so affordably. But absolutely, I love avocado, and we talked about it.
We did.
I love tuna and
Right?
avocado.
Yeah.
I love that medley, and
So
it's
good.
such a protein-packed snack.
Yep.
And avocado, it does pack such a nutritious punch, and I wish they were as affordable as what you guys probably pay for them, but either way, they're not out of the range of affordability, especially not. They're too good. You're not going to pass those up.
Yeah, no, I love
Avocado
avocado
toast,
for
exactly.
breakfast. Oh my God, come on, with
Yes.
some bacon bits. Oh yeah, right.
You know the deal.
Oh yeah,
you know the deal.
Totally.
And I, it came up because Brian, such a cool guy he was, making omelets. And if you haven't had omelets with avocado, I feel sorry for you. You need to rectify that immediately. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you've been doing with your life.
Oh, I 100% agree with you, which is what, yes to avocado. When you and I were talking about that and how we were both eating at the same time, and it was just perfect. And then, we had the avocado. That's why it popped into my head. I was like, I didn't think that it was so prevalent that you put it in the book. Like, to me, that was so happy to read that you had avocado in your book. I know, as silly as that sounds, that guy is awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I may have cut you off, but let's face it, it's the scenes like that truly bring that invite that true human connection. Those moments of either having a beer together or having a simple meal together, and especially omelet with avocado. And that may be a secret to some, obviously not to you. And I hope it's not. I hope that secret is spread far and wide so that it's exposed and realized for the gem that it is. But no, all good stuff. Brian's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's had he's one of those guys that he's been fortunate to have found quite a fan club in terms of readers who have said he's one of their favorite characters they've met. That's just cool. So cool. Anytime you can anytime you can create a character that a reader mentions that they thought about. I've had people come back at me and say, I've still thought about how cool of a guy Brian was. I'd love to have a beer with him. I would too.
Yeah.
I would too. And and if you play your cards right, he just might make you an omelet with avocado, if you're lucky,
Right. I love that you say that, because when you first introduced him, we're at a strip club, and I was like, all right, where are we going with this? I was like, so when you're introducing us to these two guys, are they good guys? Like, just because of the environment that you've presented them in, right?
Yeah.
What is he doing here? Where are we going? Right.
I'm taking you on a tour of Palisade Mountain. The dark, seedy underbelly, the brightest parts, whatever.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh no, because I'm like, how dark is this gonna get? Like, how Palisade Mountain, did you come about it? So I know you started with the manuscript, but did you create a world first and characters, and you're kind of like, okay, now I've got these two things, I'm gonna put them together. Did you create characters first, or did you create the world first?
The setting was a guarantee. I've always loved I'm a mountains guy. I love the mountains, and obviously Palisade Mountain is a fictional place, but again, in my head, it was very real. And I just had this image of this seemingly beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, beautiful college campus based in this isolated mountain town, where strange things start happening. And Definitely the setting was a sure thing. What came in bits and pieces, of course, were the individual characters and the scenarios in which they were introduced. That's what came slowly and progressively over time. But the Palisade Mountain, that was that place that, again, in my head, I see this beautiful, colorful fall landscape, these beautiful autumn trees, but of course that's just an illusion, because there's more than meets the eye. And it was an enjoyable experience in my head trip to Palisade Mountain, but it was also it also got a little weird at times, and I'm sure that came across for the reader. At least I hope so. But it was a good time, and but it's not the type of place that I would like to tour too often. I'll say that. If you do go, get in, get out, take your pictures, and hopefully you make it home safely. How about that?
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you.
Some places are best to be seen quickly and dip out of there. Some of these intense visuals and images came to me, and the names included. Obviously, he was a very dark character to write, and he certainly reflects people that I think that we have been introduced to, whether willingly or not, in the past couple decades. His prototype, his profile, but he's another one that just he came in crystal clear on that daydreaming front, on that visual front, and he wasn't easy to write by any means, and he wasn't easy for my wife to read. She said that she had trouble with him, but just his name, it came to me as one of those intense visuals, much like the scenario in which he was introduced and the role that he played.
Again, I'm going to call it that carrot that you had mentioned, right? The carrot. Yeah. And so, as if manipulated by strings, he had felt at the mercy of some godlike puppeteer with savage murder on its mind.
Now, did that one strike you initially, or did you come back to it after reading the book in its entirety? Did you flag it immediately, or did you bookmark it immediately?
I did. So it's literally on my very first passage as I'm reading. So I have it marked there. And then I also have on page 26, I have A.C. Slater marked on page 26. I don't know why, but apparently I wanted to bring that to your attention. Page 26, A.C. Slater. Yes. And then page 250 in reference to Brian in part 5.
Where he's saying that might be what it takes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's this is so fascinating. It astounds me what you pick up on, and it's really a pleasure to be quite frank about it. Yeah, that's another one of those moments that I was right there with them, and it's very, very high stakes at every turn in that juncture, in that sequence, and it made sense to me as well. I'm relaying the thought processes as I understand theirs to be, and very, very cool that you picked up on that. That line resonated with me as well. Nice. It sounds simple enough. I wrote it, but some of these lines, the godlike puppeteer line especially, that was a very significant line that does allude to the prior point of dangling the carrot. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You are a keen-eyed reader, and I can't stress that enough, for sure.
Thank you. Well, like I said, you gave me nuggets, and I love when I have nuggets.
In that scenario, and the line you mentioned, that is so applicable. It ties in so neatly, and in that moment, in that predicament, you must be able to think outside the box. And that level of thinking, that brain wiring, is critical in such a scenario, right?
Yeah.
So cool you made that connection.
So I'm going to ask a 3-part question. Number 1, did you always know you wanted to be a writer? And number 2, did you know what kind of book you wanted to write? And then number 3, are you going to give us more?
Very good. The trifecta. You're on the money tonight. No, I did not always know I wanted to be an author. In fact, I did a Meet the Author post not that long ago on Instagram and mentioned that I did not develop an appreciation for reading for pleasure until college. Better yet, my second stint of college. My first stint of college was, that old college try, just enjoying the experience. The second stint of college is when I got serious and really developed a love for fiction. I discovered Dean Koontz, and it was something about that initial read, Winter Moon, that just the level of sustained suspense and that creepy factor. I said, wow, I would love to recreate something like this and create that spooky world for readers to enjoy, to kind of give back. I had very little experience as a writer at that point, but I said, I'm going to learn how to do it. So I went on a rampage, devouring Dean Koontz book after book, and then eventually found Stephen King. And I said, these two guys, they got it. Dean Koontz, the suspense, Stephen King, the horror, the prose, the conversational style of writing. I said, the perfect author exists somewhere between these two. And if I can read enough of these two guys, I will hope to develop the perfect author, in my opinion, of course, the style I'd want to emulate. Kobe Bryant, my all-time favorite sports athlete, he modeled his game after Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time by most accounts. But of course, he took that model and made it his own. He personalized it and made his very own style. So I said, I want to take these two guys, the best in their respective subgenres, if you will, suspense and horror, and I want to blend that. I want to create a hybrid style, if you will. And so the only way I knew how to do that was, I can't watch game film on them. I can't watch tape. I can just read their books. And I devoured, I kid you not, 40, 50 Koontz King's books, one after another, alternating, trying to develop, I'm going to ingrain this into me, how to tell that kind of story. And all I've produced is one thus far, but according to reader feedback, it certainly gave them Stephen King vibes. Brandy was nice enough to mention that she saw the Koontz influence. No, I did not always know I wanted to be an author. It's kind of one of those serendipitous things that when I discovered Dean Koontz, it just kind of happened, that initial spark, and then that spark became a flame, then the flame became a fire. Sure enough, and what a treat. That book has introduced me to so many cool people. For instance, talking to you right now, very grateful that it's resonated like this with readers. So no, I did not always know I wanted to be one. And number 2, part 2 of the question was, I'm sorry, that's very long-winded.
No, I love
Number 2
it.
of the question was, if there's any prequel or sequel potential. Was that number 2?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, there has been, and I can't tell you how fortunate I am that there's been the demand for that. I never expected that. I will say that the book was, it was meant to be a standalone, as it is. It was initially intended that way. Having said that, I will never say never in regards to revisiting a certain character without giving anything away. Maybe seeing how she's doing down the line, or maybe entertaining the prequel route with one of those subplots. That's not out of the question. What I will say is that I accomplished when I finally got it where I needed to be, and I heard that audible click, and all the pieces fit. There was that sense of gratification that, you know, this puzzle took so long to put together, and once I finally got it, there was a level of satisfaction that I'm good at the moment. To say, you know, in a sense, I am fine because I'm a very inspirational driven writer. When the inspiration strikes and I get invested in a story, in a project, I'm in there. I make it mine. I've likened what I would anticipate my potential output to be something in line with a Thomas Harris, not a prolific writer by any means, 6 books in his 50+ year career. But look at some of the works that he's put out, and look at some of the unforgettable characters he's created. Hannibal Lecter, to name one.
I've read 4 of them, and I was disturbed beyond disturbed. So,
you know what I mean? and let me stay in my lane here. I'm not even trying to put myself on his level, not by any means, but strictly in terms of likening what I might anticipate my pace of production to be. Because let me assure you, the next one, that I don't think this one will be my last. You know, I'm fine for right now. I've got concepts in the works, but none that are just absolutely tugging at me. I kind of let it come at me organically, and go when the fire strikes. But the Thomas Harris style of I don't know what it was, how long he waited before his initial release to his next release, but for 6 books over 50 years, obviously he took his time. And I'm all about quality over quantity in anything.
Yes.
In anything, but especially with my fiction, because I can assure you, if it has my name on it, I promise you, my stamp is on it, a very bold stamp. I will stand by it, because I don't want to waste readers' times. I don't want to waste anyone's time, but especially not readers. There's too many good authors, too many good books to read out there on the market. What I will say is I'm grateful that there is the demand for it, and it'll be cool to see, you know, whatever comes next. There's concepts in the works, but you never know when that random nugget of inspiration strikes that comes out of left field that you do not expect, and that's the beauty of it. You got to keep those doors open. That was number 2. Your third question, and I may have alluded to it right there. The third question was, is there going to be anything more? There will be something more. The when is the question. I don't think it's a matter of if, but when. As a writer, you wonder when you're going to get that dedicated time, that distraction-free time to write. You'll appreciate it that much more. And I'm not wishing any time away by any means, but I will say that the time is pretty much spoken for right now by those 2 boys. And it is fascinating to think about when that dedicated time is back. That distraction-free time to create is presented to me once again. So only time will tell. Should I send you a copy of what comes next?
Oh, yeah. Yes, please. Thank you. May I have some more, sir? I mean, come on. But one of my favorite things, Stephen King, he also mentions music in his books. I'll never forget Pet Sematary, and he's talking about the truck driver playing the Ramones.
Yes.
And like that just stuck with me. And I read that when I was like 15. That I love that you did that, because to me that felt it felt familiar because of the Stephen King influence. I love that you read, prolifically about King. And so it felt very familiar. So your writing was brand new because I had never read your stuff before, but there was that element in there that just felt like that warm rock and roll blanket. You know what I mean?
This is fantastic feedback. I can't even tell you. That's just awesome.
I want more, Braedon.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that big time. I look forward to, I can't say how cool that is to hear.
Any other projects?
There is always something underway. I've got 5 or 6 different concepts that I've broken ground on. It's just a matter of which one pulls me the hardest next, that I commit that time to. Because when I get in there, I really do get in there, and I can't stress that enough. I like to make it. You got to make it your own. You really have to dig in, and that goes with anything. That's a universal principle, right? Whatever you do, you got to dig your claws in and make it yours. So for now, no screenplay. You mentioned screenplays. I've heard so much awesome feedback about, hey, I saw this played out like a movie for me. I could see this as a series on Netflix or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I haven't pursued anything in that regard. Nothing proactive, but all it takes is the right person, the right set of eyes, the right reader to see that. And a lot of times it's luck of the draw in that regard. And who knows, it could come to fruition. And I will say, somebody had asked on a recent live show, who would I get to direct if I had the choice of a director? And it would no doubt be David Lynch. I love David Lynch, but it's just fun to think about,
When I first was introduced to Twin Peaks, real quick segue, I went to go see The Thing because it was
lucky you.
And it was a special screening, and they were serving David Lynch coffee at the theater. And I literally was like, he's here. I know he is. Like, I feel him. I can't confirm that, but in my head, he was there. He was there.
I love it.
Watching The Thing.
I love it.
35 millimeter, damn it.
What a story.
And you would have to have, damn fine coffee in there. I mean, come on. Like, come on.
I'm jealous that you experienced David Lynch coffee. Even if he wasn't hiding behind the curtain, I think that's awesome.
Right?
No,
guy.
David Lynch and his artistic ambiguity, because there's a degree of ambiguity within Ungodly. There's that, obviously, the curtain that I keep hanging for a long time. But in Twin Peaks, you mentioned Twin Peaks and Mulholland Drive. Those will always be my 2.
Yeah.
I mean, just unforgettable pieces. I can hear the theme music in Twin Peaks right now.
Yes.
But there's so much. I know it's not my tale is more. It has a lot more horror involved. Where Twin Peaks, there's more of the ambiguous mystery. There's the you don't know what's going on at all times, and that's what he captures so well, is keeping your interest peaked while not really giving you much at all in terms of revelations, right? And that's one of the things that I hope to accomplish in Ungodly, obviously, was sustaining suspense for as long as I could and continuing to build that dread, mount the dread, and build. Yes. And again, according to reader feedback, they've been gracious enough to let me know that it is one of those that builds.
It definitely does. Like I said, I literally felt like I had put that shoulder strap down and I was locked into that roller coaster, and it was that chunk, and it had that roller coaster feel to it. Especially, I don't want to give away the scene, but when you and I were messaging, and I literally was like, holy crap. Oh my God. Like, I'm exhausted as a reader. And we
you said you needed a break.
I needed a break. I needed a break.
Yes.
I did. I put it down, had a cup of coffee, and I had to just kind of sit there and just kind of compose myself. And I was like, whew, here we go again. I was strapped back in, but I did. I had to get off the ride for a little bit. I had to get, it was intense. It was intense. Yeah.
I love it.
I love it. So you did an amazing job, and I'm so honored to have been able to be part of the Ungodly crew.
I'm honored that you read it. I can't tell you that. I can't stress that enough. Honored to have had your eyes on it.
Thank you for your time. I'm so happy to have had this conversation about your book. Like, you have made my night, and I can't thank you enough.
I love it. And, and I tell you, whenever and whatever comes next, you're going to get at least 2 copies on your shelf, one that you can spill coffee on and the other that must stay pristine.
You got it.
I'm just going to double the pleasure, double the fun. You might as well go ahead and send 2. Why not?
I know. I felt so bad. Brandy was reading the book at the time, and she had her coffee. So we have these little C tables, and in order to get to my desk, in order for me to move freely about my desk here, I have to move the C table out of the way. And I forget that sometimes it gets stuck on the leg of the futon. And so I moved it, and no lie, full cup of coffee. It was the worst coffee spill I've ever had. It literally splattered all the way to the wall underneath my desk. It just made this ginormous puddle, and your book was right in the middle. I wanted to take a picture, but I was terrified to take a picture.
That would have made the best book photo. The best book photo.
I was so embarrassed and horrified. And so, and then the 2 of us are just like frantically cleaning it and frantically cleaning. And she rescued the book, but it just didn't quite survive unscathed.
But look at the joy it's brought here, and the story that it's brought, the laughs.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And so the fact that I was able to confess to ruining your masterpiece here. And so I was like, I feel so bad.
And if coffee is the worst thing that happens to us, even a catastrophic coffee spill, like you said, it might be among your worst. And I'm sure there's been some pretty good coffee spills over the years. I'm glad that my book is involved in the worst coffee spill of all. I'm going to find the silver lining. So help me.
I love it. I love it.
You got to find it.
Yeah, I love it. And so thank you for your understanding and not having, okay, that's it. I'm done. Coffee Fitness Unicorn. She's cut off. She gets nothing. She gets no more coffee. She gets no more books. But it ended up working out in my favor. So thank you very, very, very much. And it did. It brought us together. And then,
Absolutely.
Being able to have those conversations via Instagram and sending you those DMs and connecting with you even further. And that's one of the things that I love about doing this podcast is it's a way to connect to you. It's a way that other people can connect to you. That silver lining that you found, like that makes my little heart burst. And now I feel bad for not taking a picture of your book being in the most catastrophic coffee spill, so don't worry, I'm not going to set up another one. I won't intentionally do it, but it would have been a great photo. It really would have.
That's too good. And again, the character added to the book, the story that you now have, and the laughs here this evening. It's all worth it. You can replace the book, but it's hard to replicate the laughs and the memories that can come from such an experience.
My cheeks hurt every time we talk about it now because I'm laughing so hard. But like I said, I was horrified at first, just horrified. And that was the only word that came to my mind was horrific. Horrified. I was just like, oh my God. I was like, he's gonna hate me. I was like, I'm the worst reader ever. Like, I have destroyed his baby. So, no. So thank you very much for not hating me and for being on the Coffee Fitness Unicorn podcast.
What a treat. And I've sent, Brandy sometimes shares stories of you on Instagram doing your early morning dances. I take it you're the morning person. You're the go-getter, early, active.
Yep.
That's the same way with me. I like to get going early. You got to get moving. You got to get the music going, whatever can get you, whatever can ignite your spirit as quickly as possible. Obviously caffeine helps with that, but turn on the tunes, get to moving a little bit. I'm right there with you. Yes.
I was so afraid of being late that I was an hour early. So,
hey,
well, there you have it.
That's as prompt as can be. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have one final question before we wrap this up. If you were to describe yourself as a bird, what kind of bird would you be?
White owl.
Nice. No hesitation. Nailed it. And pray tell why?
Observation, always on alert. And I've been told that I'm wise beyond my years. That's not me saying that, but I believe generally owls are symbols of wisdom.
Yes.
And in fact, the white owl is a moniker that was given to me by my best friend. Because that's how he sees me. He sees me as a bird of prey that's very observant and wise. Not me. He'll co-sign that, but definitely the white owl. Plus, they're beautiful creatures. Let's just be real about it. They're awesome. Yeah. I mean, I want to say they can rotate their head 270 degrees for crying out loud. I mean, you're talking about that type of coverage. I mean, you want to see what's around you, what's in your peripheral. Awesome. There is one mention of an owl in the story, and it just happened to work. It's a mountain town. There's got to be some mention of wildlife, and it just happens to be that great creature of wisdom, the owl.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. You all your questions were great, and you closed on a great one as well. So
thank you.
What a pleasure it's been. Thank you so much for having me. And until next time, we need to do this again. But until then, keep the coffee away from the books, okay?
You got it.
Thank you so much.